Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to this episode of Life of Luba live show where I'm interviewing interesting people on a variety of topics. Today my guest is Stepan staff software engineer at Airbnb and previously at Facebook, and he's going to tell us about his journey at Facebook, how he went from junior engineer to senior in a short period of time. So you don't want to miss this information. Subscribe to this channel, there's going to be more interviews like this, and please stay tuned. So I wanted to point out also that, Stepan started at Facebook as an E3 junior engineer. That's how they leveled him. And then just within around 2 years, you became E5 engineer, which is senior software engineer, which is actually a crazy timeline. Usually takes about a year and a half to 2 years, I guess from year to 2 years to get to E4 level. And then, but if you're an absolute killer, it can take you half a year to do that, but the average is year to 2 years. And then to get from E4 to E5, which is like from mid-level to senior engineer, it takes about also like on average, I would say a year and a half at the least, and up until 3 years on average. So that's the range. So Stepan, you did it. You went from E3 junior engineer to senior in just about 2 years. That's really impressive. How did you do that at Facebook?
Cheers. It might have been, so just to be like totally, I'm trying to remember, I think it's either 2 or 2.5. So that's
okay, that's fine. That's still a crazy timeline. Yeah.
So the story for that, I can give you how I think people okay, I'll first just give advice on how to do it, and then I'll tell you how I did it.
Sounds good.
The most concise way, right, when you're in E3, the way to become E4 is this. First, you want to be proactive and positive. So a lot of E3s, they don't like to be, they get argumentative. They don't want to be told how to grow, right? You want to be always looking for feedback, really earnest, and just working like, look, I just want to get it done. I want to get it done. I want to try more, go for more, take the responsibility. If they give you a task, execute on that task, right? Try to unblock yourself, ask for feedback. Right, so that's E3. So E3 to E4, when you're able to do that, and you can start to complete tasks that are about a month long, now you're at the E4 level. So E4, you can think of E4 in two ways. The first part of E4 is in my opinion, it starts to change a little bit, but in my opinion, what you got to do is to be extremely productive. You want to be able to be the person. So in E4 is actually usually the kind of person that everyone gets really happy when they join the team, because they know that when they join the team, everything gets done. If an E6 joins the team, it might get done, but they're like busy meeting people, right? Yeah. So an E4 comes in and they're just like, they understand the system really well, and they love to code. They have opinions. They can now, they usually leave things better off than when they start coding on something. So that's E4. To move into E5, what you start doing is you start leading initiatives. You start thinking of ideas. I think this is where a lot of people get stuck. As an E4, they always look for someone else to tell them
what to do.
What to do, and hey, like you're E5 now, you can be a senior. But instead, at some point, you just got to tell yourself, hey, I'm already E5. They just haven't given me that number yet. So what that means is, hey, think about where's the organization headed? What product do they need? Start creating demos. Start mentoring people, right? Be as helpful as you can. Make the people around you more productive, all right? So the more you do that, the more you communicate that to your manager, the faster you'll move on to E5. So for me, so that's my direct advice for someone who I don't know to become E5. The way my story is E3 to E4, I did what I just recommended. There was a big product we were launching, and I was really into the front end world at the time, and I thought, what, I'm just gonna build. I'm gonna show Facebook that they were not just Facebook, but my manager and my CEO and the CTO, that they were right in investing in me. So I really wanted to make them proud. So
makes sense. So that was the motivation.
Yeah. So a lot of coding later became E4.
A lot of, yeah. And then bigger ideas and projects brought you E5, right?
Exactly. So with E5, what happened is when I was E4, I started thinking, hey, where's the business headed? What's going on in Messenger? How can I help? How can I help the org? And some ideas came in. I started looking at WeChat, right? I'm like, we're going to become the WeChat of the West, right? So I was very, very excited, and I found some ideas. I thought, hey, we should make something called Smart Replies. Like, what if there's all these businesses on Facebook, but no one actually talks to them on Messenger the way that they do on WeChat? What if we made this automatic? So when you sent a message, we responded back with maybe just basic questions like the time, and eventually we build out into a beautiful presence on Messenger. And I just built a demo. And all of a sudden, we started building a team around it. Then I started moving to New York to negotiate with the Pages team, and all of a sudden that started. And then I thought, hey, like developers, they all want NLP, but it's a little bit complicated to like know about WIT and to use our different systems. What if we just integrated it right inside Messenger platform?
And NLP is natural language processing, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah. So then, put that in the platform. I think the way that you do, move into E5, I think this can be a tough path. What you really need to do is to demonstrate impact. And, one of the ways to do that is for me, I was really passionate about this problem. So I wanted to launch it. I wanted to be, making WeChat for the West. And you'd see me in like all hands meetings with like the big shots. And poor little, 21-year-old E4 engineer, I'll be like, why are we doing this? This sucks, So
I love it.
So, that's how it goes.
Okay, this is a great question. This is coming from Death by Parallograms. Nice.
I love it. Uh-oh.
Can you explain your take on what a staff engineer does, and what does that role comprise of?
Sure thing. So here's what, past a senior engineer, there's archetypes of very different ways that you can be a staff engineer. So you could be, for example, a person who understands a concept or a stack extremely deeply. You know the JVM better than anyone else, right? And you can fix problems that by just a flip of like 2 lines of code, you've saved millions of dollars for the company. So that's archetype 1. Archetype 2 could be you're a person who really understands how to come up with and bring ideas to production. So you don't just, maybe you don't know the JVM as well, but what you do know is how do you talk to designers, you come up with what the org needs, you build out a demo, you're able to bring that through, right? And that's one other archetype. There's many more, but I'll give you, I think, the underlying theme of everything is. And the underlying theme is to be helpful. So what does a staff engineer do? The simplest answer is this. They make the people around them better. So your main goal as an engineer, it doesn't really matter if staff, but it's staff, it's required, right? Is you need to always ask, how can I be helpful to my team? So how does this work, right? So you start saying, okay, how can I be helpful? Well, you start noticing everyone, when they launch a project, they have to write these tests, but the tests sometimes break because somebody forgot to update it. So you say, oh, okay, every time someone launches something, I'll create a system that when the diff goes in, we run all the tests, continuous integration, right? Boom, staff engineer solution, right? You start thinking to yourself, oh, okay, whenever someone is trying to, we now have GDPR, and it's a big problem. Like whenever you save some data, everyone has to remember who can access what data. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll create a new concept, a new abstraction, so that other people don't have to worry about this. They can just use a few of my tools, and all of a sudden they don't have to worry about it. Boom, staff engineer solution, right?
Stepan, actually, you just moved to Airbnb. So you stayed at Facebook for 4 years. You're just 25 years old, staff software engineer, water baller, just moved to Airbnb. Why did you decide to make the change? You know, it seems like things have been amazing at Facebook.
Yeah, so here's what happened. Around November, I just finished about a project that was 2 years long. I called it The Great Migration. And this once I finished it, kind of opened my eyes. It was the last commitment that I had made to a bunch of people at Facebook. So at that point, I could go all in at Facebook again. I could start a company, or I could join a different company. So the first thing I realized is, hey, okay, you know what? I'm going to start a company. But very quickly I realized maybe right now is not the time, right? One, I don't have a big problem, and I don't want to be the person who makes a solution for a problem, right? And two, you know, the one person who I wanted to start one with, he just came back from 18 months of vacation. The other one just joined Stripe. So I thought, okay, this is quite not the right time. And
not the right time,
You know, I could sell them on it. I could tell them, hey, don't be in a big company, come join me. But what's the point if you don't have a big problem? Yeah. So then I thought, okay, I could join in at Facebook, but I could also check out others' problems, right? And I thought I did consider Facebook. So I started talking to teams at Facebook. I started thinking about what problems I could solve there.
But you mean like moving to a different team at Facebook?
Two options: either move to a different team, or commit to my organization for something big. Like there was something I had in mind for a 2-year project. But then I thought, before I do that, I should really know what's out there, right? Yeah. And I started talking to other companies, and eventually started talking to 11 companies. So that's quite a number. Yeah. And I realized there's some opportunities that was just really exciting. So, you know, I wanted to work on something that had, customers made money from it. So I think that's the kind of business I want to start at the end. So I'm very excited to work. You know, I've considered Stripe because it helps, developers charge. Airbnb. You know, I used an Airbnb, not as a guest, as a host in Taipei to support my entrepreneurial adventures. Square, similar reasons. Firebase at Google, similar reasons. So I was, thinking about this, and Airbnb really stood out for me because. For a few reasons. One, I definitely see the vision. That if you think about travel in 15 years, it's not going to be the same. Yeah. Right? And just the way Amazon has captured all the market for commerce, I think someone will capture that market for travel. Second, I think it really supports entrepreneurs. Right? There's an aspect of belonging, and I really love that as a person who was an immigrant and moved in different places, and that's an aspect I love. But the aspect I most love is the fact that we help millions of people become entrepreneurs. And then, of course, I thought, what are the engineering problems here? And it's really exciting. I could support building these businesses. So that's where Airbnb really kind of like stood out. And I ended up joining and just started last week.
Yeah, amazing. And now Stepan and I are actually co-workers because I also work at Airbnb. So it's awesome to now see, my friends, like more friends, to have more amazing friends in the building. It's always, so great to run into you. And it's only been a week. Yeah. Yeah. So I do have one last question before we move on to the audience question. So I just wanted to ask you for advice from my audience. For someone who, doesn't have work experience but wants to be a software engineer, what would you recommend them to do?
So here's what I would say. First, make sure you really love it, right? So start programming on your own just a little bit, right? Build something you really like. But then to really move in, what you got to do is you got to go where the knowledge is, right? And where the knowledge is where people are building things. So start asking for apprenticeships, right? Ping people that you really respect and say, hey, can I work with you? Whether it's free or not, doesn't even matter. Really move in that direction. And I know Luba, you're working on something that could be really...
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that, you know, like you don't have to work for free. A lot of companies here in the Bay Area and around the world, they offer paid internships as software engineers. And actually, yeah, this just came to my mind. This segued so well. I actually am launching a webinar on how to get internships at top tech companies. If you guys want to kickstart your career in tech, you should attend my webinar where I'm going to teach you how to get internships at top tech companies. And this is something that I personally have a lot of experience with. I've interned at Airbnb, I've interned at Yelp, I have offers from companies such as LinkedIn and Microsoft and a lot of others. So you know, as they say, I've been there, I've done that. I'll teach you how to craft a great narrative for yourself, how to have a great resume, how to prepare for different rounds of interviews, and how to get those offers so that you can kickstart your career. And you can check out the webinar at lifeofluba.com/internship, and I'll leave the link below in the description. You don't want to miss it. There's going to be a ton of invaluable information, so I hope to see you there. Okay, so we have a question. What do you suggest for JavaScript intermediate learners? Stepan, you're a front-end killer. What do you suggest for JavaScript intermediate learner?
Yeah, so
I know it's a pretty broad question, but
here's my general suggestion for engineers or hackers. And I think what you should do is to follow your taste. So Paul Graham has a great essay about this. How do you come up with business ideas? And I think this applies to a lot of things. The way you come up with business ideas, you could look at markets and say, hey, this is an interesting market. There's a lot of money in this one. There's an interesting market. There's a lot of this and that. But what you could do is you could live in the future and then build what's missing. But so the way you live in the future is you become really good at a piece of technology. So one way that you do that, right? If you only follow what other people say, hey, you should work, the latest craze is blah, 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 and then everybody moves there. The latest craze is blah, and everybody moves there. What'll happen is you'll be in a competitive space, and you're not actually innovating. You're doing what everybody else is doing. So one way to get past that is to ask yourself, what are you curious about? And the way that right, will actually lead to those interesting problems, because if you're working on things you love and you're surrounded by people you find very smart, chances are you guys are doing some very interesting things. So in general, I'd say follow your interests. So what would that look like for a JavaScript engineer? Well, there's a lot of interesting things going on. So CSP, could you use Go routines in front end? Right? How would that look like? Right? There was a Redux saga. Like, what's that about? I remember that was pretty interesting. When they made thunks, when they made hooks, what was the design decision like? You can look into that. Can you recreate React? That could be interesting. What are you missing that you might not have? Did you learn about the latest CSS stuff? Like, if you're curious about it, some people really are. Make a laptop only in CSS, right? So those are things that you can ask yourself what you're interested in, and then go deeper. How do you build applications that scale? How about video games? What's the level that you can bring a web browser to, right? Where does it stop? How about Rust on WebAssembly, right? This could be really interesting. And I think the way you decide that is not by me telling you, look, Rust is the future, but something in you is going to click, like, oh, I'm interested in Rust. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, how's the type system working here? Oh, like, okay, I like this type system. Where does it come from? And then all of a sudden, if you follow your taste, you'll discover something very interesting.
That was an amazing answer. And I totally agree with you that, you shouldn't follow the latest and greatest, or the latest and not greatest, and like just being like, okay, someone told me to learn JavaScript or Java or like PHP or whatever. You should follow languages are just tools, so you should use them accordingly to whatever you want to do with them.
Great painting, by the way, on the background of your
thank
house.
Thank you. It wasn't me painting it, unfortunately, but thank you.
It was actually me, and I gifted it.
Yeah, it was Stepan, exactly. Okay, sorry, I'm just looking for this question that I just saw. Oh, we have a lot of new questions too.
Oh.
This is an amazing question. What made you believe in yourself? Coming from Ali Mazlumov.
That's a great question.
It is a great question.
I think there's 3 phases for me personally, but I'll also answer how you should learn to believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, what happened is, first I had parents that thought I was, like, because I was in Georgia, I was like in this village. And I was like my dad was like the Siberian, business magnate. He had a Toyota Land Cruiser, which was a very, very, very serious car at the time. So what I got to see from my parents is like the aspect of being able to build something, to lose something, to build it again.
Mm-hmm.
And the expectations that was given to me was, hey, like, you're a leader. Like, you got to make those decisions. When my dad, for example, when I was 5, he moved to Canada. So I was the only man in the house, right? I had two big sisters and one amazing mom. So I thought, hey, like, I gotta protect my family. I'm now the man, so like let me figure it out. So there was like some aspect of like initial belief. Then in Canada, I'd say there was an aspect of anger where I thought, hey, like, I'm this guy that just came in. I don't speak English. I'm smaller than everybody else. Like, I don't know what people eat in Canada. They're like 10 meters tall. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna show everyone. Like, I'm gonna fight. And then like at some point it changed into. At some point it just changed into, hey, like, I feel like if you look at the world, right, and you start reading these biographies, you'll see that everyone is like you and me, all right? If you see the guy that made, Napoleon, when you see his writings to his lady, just a guy trying to do a good job, right? He's like, hey, I will miss you, hope you're good, right? So you'll just see that everywhere. So one suggestion I'd have, if you're having doubts, is this: first, never let yourself be the person that tells you no. So other people's job is to tell you no, right? So even if someone says, for example, in some job articles, it's like you must have a degree, or they'll say experience in blah 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 blah. But to you, like, you're a business person, like, you're like a guy that makes it happen. Who cares what they say? You know you're going to solve their problem, right? So keep going, and when they tell you no, then it's okay. Then you iterate, but don't tell no to yourself. Let other people say no, right? That's
wow.
Yeah, concept 1. Concept 2: read biographies of other people and read fiction, like adventure fiction. So Raphael Sabatini, amazing fiction. Read The Count of Monte Cristo. Like, see how the guy walks and talks, right? Read Theodore Roosevelt. Read Benjamin Franklin. Read the Washington one. You'll just be very inspired, and you'll know that, hey, like, that's totally possible, right? And this isn't like full ego. I'm not saying all of us will achieve that, but whatever we do, it's like we're made from the same tree. So all of us, the entire human world. So don't tell no to yourself.
I love that, especially both the biographies, the books, and the don't tell no to yourself. That's something that I think I still struggle a lot with. Like, I often think, oh, I can't do that because this other person is so much better at it, or I can't do it because I haven't studied it, so I'm not good enough. And then I have these limiting beliefs in my head that literally like block me from taking action, because I just have this little voice in my head that tells me like, oh, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough to like figure this out. And whatever it might be, it doesn't have to be related to like work, or it can be like even trying out a new thing or a new hobby. So that's something that I've definitely been tackling. And like, to other people, I still come off as, head on, I do stuff, but it's definitely something that, you shouldn't be afraid to to admit that that doesn't happen to you and just work on, not saying no to yourself in your head. So I love that advice. Thank you, Stepan. Maybe Stepan will join me for another live sometime, because I know he has so much wisdom and so much that he's done in his career already that I think it's incredible to share with all of you. And I thank you, Stepan, for being here with me and for, sharing yourself and your thoughts and your story with my audience. Bye. Just a reminder that if you want to kickstart your career in tech, you should attend my webinar that's going to be launching on June 21st. You can find it at lifeofluba.com/internship. I'll leave the link below in the description. I will be teaching you guys how to get internships at top tech companies. I've interned at Airbnb and Yelp myself. I've had offers from places like Microsoft and LinkedIn, so you don't want to miss it. There's going to be a ton of amazing information in there, and I hope to see you there. So lifeofluba.com/internship. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and took some valuable advice and motivation from this interview with Stepan. Feel free to leave some questions for him in the comment section down below. I might bring him back on the show. And don't forget to give this show some love. Give it a like and a subscribe. There is going to be more content like this coming. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. As always, bye for now.